I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you are like 16 years old, sitting in a high school classroom in Vietnam.
Okay, yeah.
And you aren't just, agonizing over a standardized math test or trying to craft that perfect, vulnerable, personal essay to basically beg an admissions committee for a spot.
The usual high school stress.
Exactly. But instead, you're actively navigating the United States patent database to protect an AI algorithm you helped design.
Wow.
While at the exact same time, you are being groomed to step right into a fully funded postgraduate research lab in Texas. I mean, it sounds entirely like science fiction. Right?
It really does, yeah.
But looking at today's stack of source material, it's an absolute reality.
It is, and it's a reality engineered by a company called the Talented Minds Agency, or TMA.
Right.
If you look through their web pages, their news archives, all their organizational materials, you see what is essentially a complete dismantling of the traditional international study paradigm.
Which brings us to our mission for this deep dive. We really want to explore how TMA is redefining what an education consultancy can even be.
Yeah, because they aren't doing the standard stuff.
Exactly. They are not in the business of just helping a student pass a language test or, proofreading a college entrance essay.
No, not at all.
They are operating as a really high-level strategic bridge. They're directly connecting the untapped potential of Vietnamese youth with global research and development and business innovation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this because the scale here is just wild.
It is, and I think the best place to start is by looking at the massive bottleneck that currently exists in the U.S. higher education system,
Yep.
especially at the postgraduate level. I mean, if you look at the economics and just the operational reality of major U.S. universities, professors are routinely securing these massive grants.
Right.
We're talking millions of dollars for highly complex, funded R&D projects.
So I'm deducing that a grant is, ultimately just a bank account, right?
Essentially, yes.
Right. Like a professor might get $5 million from a government agency or a corporation to develop a more efficient battery or a new software protocol. But that money doesn't actually do the work in the lab.
Exactly. The money just sits there.
The professor suddenly has this urgent need for highly skilled labor. They need brilliant master's and PhD students to actually execute the research.
And that right there is the core friction point. They have the capital and they have the theoretical goal.
Right.
But finding dedicated, top-tier talent who already possess the foundational knowledge to just step into a complex lab environment, that is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I bet.
And this is exactly the friction point TMA targets with what they call their win-win model.
Which I find super interesting. I want to look at how that model shifts the power dynamic for you, the listener, if you are a prospective student.
Oh, it changes everything.
Normally, the system is asymmetrical. The university holds all the leverage. But under TMA's model, it feels less like applying to a school and more like, I don't know, a Hollywood talent agency system.
That's a great way to put it.
Like, a traditional counselor just tells you where to mail your headshot. But TMA acts like an agent who knows a blockbuster director is actively searching for a specific type of actor.
Yeah, they secure the audition and broker a contract where the studio pays for everything.
It's usually like auditioning for a play, but TMA treats it more like high-end sports recruiting, except instead of a point guard, the coach desperately needs a graduate student to build an AI algorithm.
Exactly. And that structural shift changes the student from a tuition-paying customer into an essential contracted research asset.
Right.
TMA's primary operation is scouting these outstanding Vietnamese students. And that could be students currently studying in the U.S., in Australia, or back home in Vietnam.
Okay.
And they match them directly with the U.S. universities that are desperate to fill those specific funded R&D positions.
So if we break down the mechanics of that transaction, the win for the professor is obvious, right? They get the elite talent required to fulfill their grant obligations and publish their research.
Right, they get the brains.
And the win for the student is that the degree is fully funded. They are getting a PhD or a master's paid for simply because their brain is the required machinery for the grant.
Precisely. It's highly practical.
But facilitating that requires a massive amount of logistical heavy lifting. I mean, you don't just email a resume to a lab in Texas and call it a day.
Oh, no, definitely not. The materials outline a highly involved end-to-end matchmaking process.
Okay.
TMA actively scopes out the U.S. universities first. They identify the specific R&D projects that actually have funding and open positions.
So they aren't just guessing.
No, they are mapping the demand. Then they facilitate the interviews, making sure the professors are seeing candidates who actually fit the technical requirements of the lab.
And I see they also handle the administrative labyrinth, which is
Oh,
huge.
it's a massive hurdle.
For anyone who has ever tried to study or work abroad, the U.S. visa application process is an absolute nightmare of paperwork and specific legal thresholds.
Yeah, it's brutal.
But TMA is managing that visa process. They're securing housing accommodations in the U.S. and even providing ongoing career coaching to line up future internships.
Right. It is a full relocation and talent management service.
But I do have to push back a little here.
Mhm.
It raises an interesting question about accessibility.
Yeah.
When you look at the suite of services, matching people with funded PhDs, navigating complex visa logistics, placing students in elite labs, it sounds inherently exclusionary.
It does sound like that, yeah.
Like, it sounds like you would already need a master's degree in quantum mechanics just to walk through their front door. Is this strictly for elite graduate students?
No, actually it's not, and that's a common misconception. Looking
Yeah.
at the source materials, their postgraduate R&D matchmaking is really only one part of the pipeline.
Oh, okay.
They actually offer a comprehensive study abroad consulting package that starts as early as high school.
Really? High school?
Yeah, they are building an intentional long-term runway for all levels.
Wow.
By engaging younger students, they help them identify their unique strengths early on, pick the correct undergraduate majors, and really map out a multi-year career path.
I see.
The goal is to groom them over time so that when they finally reach that postgraduate level, they are exactly the kind of highly specialized talent those R&D labs are begging for.
But giving a high schooler that level of specialized attention and eventually brokering their entry into elite international research labs, that requires an immense amount of trust from the U.S. institutions.
It does.
You can't just call up a department head at a major university and demand they look at a teenager from across the world.
Definitely not.
The people brokering these introductions need serious leverage and credibility of their own. Facilitating matchmaking at this elite R&D level requires serious industry clout.
And the leadership team behind TMA absolutely provides that credibility. The CEO and founder, Dr. David Nghiem, is heavily featured in the source materials.
Yeah, and his background completely defies the profile of a standard educational consultant or guidance counselor.
Cool.
The archives describe him as an educator, an entrepreneur, and an inventor. Actually, there is a specific news headline we have here about him unveiling a wireless pacemaker at a science forum.
Right. And consider the architectural mindset required to invent a wireless pacemaker.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You are looking at a highly complex biological system, the human heart, and identifying a critical physical limitation.
Which in this case would be the wires connecting the device.
Exactly. You then engineer a way to bypass those physical wires entirely to make the system more efficient. He is taking that exact same problem-solving framework and applying it to the international education system.
Oh, wow. He is literally engineering a bypass around the traditional wires of college admissions.
Exactly.
He saw the friction of the standard application process and built a wireless connection straight from the student to the R&D lab.
Yes, and he has surrounded himself with a board of directors that reinforces that high-level scientific credibility.
Let's talk about the TMA advisory board because it's fascinating.
The board is a clear signal to any U.S. institution that this agency operates at the highest academic and industrial frequencies.
Yeah.
Take Professor Christine Ehlig Economides. The sources note she is a member of the National Academy of Engineering and a fellow in the National Academy of Inventors.
That's huge.
And she is currently a professor at the University of Houston.
What really stands out in the archives about her is a talk she gave in Ho Chi Minh City, where she shared her career path moving from academia into the oil industry.
Right.
She also spoke at Saigon Tech Uni. So she isn't just an academic. She represents the physical bridge between the classroom and global energy markets.
Exactly. She understands the commercial application of research. And alongside her on the board is Dr. J. Thomas Vaughn, Jr. He's the founding director of the Columbia Magnetic Resonance Research Center and a professor at Columbia University.
So, having board members with deep expertise in petroleum engineering, advanced medical technology, and applied physics sitting on an educational agency's board, I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about their target outcomes.
It really does.
These aren't former admissions officers reading application essays. These are the people who actually run the massive R&D labs.
Yeah.
They intimately understand the skill deficits in the global market because they live it every day.
And that industry insight directly informs how they prepare the younger students, because there is a massive operational gap between a 16-year-old student in Vietnam and a funded research position at a place like Columbia University.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
This is where we need to look at the TMA Innovation Program, because the way they bridge that gap doesn't look like traditional college prep at all.
Not even a little bit.
It reads like a venture capital incubator. The source material describes it as a business development program designed to empower both Vietnamese students and educators to realize innovative ideas. It's basically Shark Tank meets a study abroad program.
That is a perfect analogy.
Okay.
The level of real-world business and legal support they are injecting into the high school and undergraduate experience is highly unusual.
Right.
The program actually starts by teaching students how to conduct prior art and patent searches.
Okay, let's pause on prior art because that is a dense legal concept.
It is.
If a student invents a new type of water filtration system in their garage, they can't just start selling it.
Right.
They have to search through massive, complex patent databases to prove that nobody else on Earth has already invented or patented that exact same mechanism.
Exactly.
Teaching a teenager how to navigate international intellectual property law to see if their idea is legally novel is incredibly sophisticated.
It is, and it fundamentally changes how the student views their own ideas. They are learning to evaluate their academic projects for actual business potential. Wow.
From there, TMA helps them secure funding to initiate the physical projects. They teach end-to-end project management. They actively assist the students in legally protecting their intellectual property.
Right.
And finally, they help market the final product or solution.
It's an end-to-end commercialization pipeline. But, I have to push back here again.
Go for it.
It is one thing to teach a high schooler how to search a patent database. It is another thing entirely to expect them to contribute to the kind of hard science we were just talking about.
Sure.
Are these kids just building, simple science fair volcanoes, or they're doing actual high-level tech work?
The materials explicitly state these students are gaining hands-on experience by contributing to ongoing advanced tech projects at TMA.
Okay.
They specifically highlight work in artificial intelligence and integrated circuits.
Yeah, they even mention a highly specific project focus in the archives. It says radio frequency integrated circuit with antenna, or RFIC.
And if you think about the device you are using to listen to this deep dive right now, a smartphone, a wireless headphone, a smartwatch RFIC is the invisible architecture that allows that device to communicate over Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or cellular networks.
It really is the foundational technology of the modern interconnected world.
Exposing a student to that specific subset of electrical engineering before they even enter a university gives them an astronomical advantage.
Absolutely, and you can see the tangible results of this preparation in their news archives. They highlight a strategic roadmap for semiconductor technology development in Vienna.
I saw that.
But more critically, there is a headline regarding the first Vietnamese high schooler interns at Taiwanese chip firm.
Yeah, I read that headline, and my immediate reaction was, honestly, skepticism about the risk involved for the company.
How so?
Well, the global semiconductor industry is notoriously secretive, highly complex, and currently the center of massive geopolitical tension. How does an agency de-risk a teenager so thoroughly that a multi-billion-dollar Taiwanese chip firm trusts them enough to bring them on as an intern?
The answer lies in the rigor of the innovation program we just discussed.
Okay.
The chip firm isn't taking a blind risk on a teenager with a good GPA.
Right.
They are taking a calculated bet on a student who has already been trained by a board of elite scientists to understand intellectual property, project management, and foundational integrated circuit architecture.
Ah, I see.
The TMA program acts as an ultimate quality assurance filter for the industry.
That makes perfect sense. The preparation de-risks the placement. So we see the what and the how of this operation.
Yeah.
Let's shift to the physical geography of where all this is happening.
Because their global footprint is very intentional.
Very. According to their contact pages, TMA Inc. is headquartered in Suite 2101 801 Travis Street in Houston, Texas.
Right.
And Houston is the perfect physical nexus for everything we've discussed. It is the global capital of the energy and petroleum sector, and it houses the largest medical complex in the world.
Exactly.
By basing their operations in Houston, TMA is physically anchoring itself alongside the exact industries they are funneling their students toward.
And Houston also serves as the command center for their extensive web of university partnerships.
Right.
On the United States side of the equation, the sources highlight a very strategic corridor of collaboration. They are partnering with Texas A&M to advance engineering education,
Okay.
and they collaborate with Rice University to attract global talent.
And they have a massive, deep-rooted relationship with the University of Houston, which directly ties back to Professor Elie Economides sitting on their advisory board.
Exactly, the connections are all there.
The archives show TMA and UH collaborating specifically to advance Vietnam's petroleum industry. But more importantly for the listener looking for opportunities, they facilitate fully funded scholarships for international talents, specifically at UH.
Yeah, and to supply that talent pipeline, they have deeply embedded themselves in the Vietnamese academic ecosystem.
Right.
The archives document a constant flow of collaborative meetings, orientation programs, and scholarship launches with local institutions.
The cross-pollination is massive. They are working with HCMUS, that's the Ho Chi Minh City University of Science, and HCMUT, the University of Technology.
Yeah, and they're exploring initiatives with Can Tho University as well.
And the entire innovation program we broke down earlier was actually launched at Travin University.
Right, so they are functioning as a two-way channel. They are scouting the brightest minds in Vietnam to bring to the U.S., but they are also bringing U.S. academic and industrial standards directly onto Vietnamese campuses.
We see records of meetings and speeches at Saigon Tech Uni and UAF too.
Yeah.
We even see a headline about a top U.S. petroleum expert delivering a speech at a Travin University graduation.
Wow.
And they're building formal structural pathways to ensure this isn't just a one-off phenomenon. I noticed a project in the archives called Sponsor a Student.
Yes.
There's also a 2+2 undergraduate program.
The 2+2 model is a highly efficient structural pathway.
How does that work exactly?
Well, it generally allows a student to complete the first 2 years of their foundational undergraduate coursework in their home country.
Which drastically reduces the financial burden.
Right, exactly. And then they transfer to the partner university abroad for the final 2 years to complete their specialized degree.
It is a brilliant way to mitigate the massive cost of a full 4-year international degree while still securing the credential and the research access at the end.
It really is.
I also noticed they host an international RET conference. RET usually stands for Research Experiences for Teachers.
Right.
So they aren't just focusing their efforts on the students, they're actively training the local educators in Vietnam to elevate the entire baseline of instruction.
And by formalizing these programs, the 2+2 structures, the sponsored scholarships, the educator conferences, TMA proves they are not relying on a few lucky success stories.
Right. They have engineered a scalable institutional pipeline.
Yeah.
So, taking a massive step back from the RFIC chips, the patent searches, and the university boardrooms, what is the ultimate takeaway for you, the listener?
Yeah, why does this matter?
Exactly. Why should you spend time understanding the mechanics of a consulting agency based in Houston, Texas?
Because the model TMA has built is a leading indicator that the fundamental landscape of global education is shifting.
Totally.
For decades, the singular goal was admission. The strategy was to get accepted into a brand name university, pay the tuition, and hope you figure out a career afterward.
Right.
But TMA demonstrates that the future of education is not about admission. It is about alignment.
They are aligning human potential with industrial demand. They are looking at the vast untapped talent pool in Vietnam and precisely matching those minds with the global technological and business needs of the U.S. market.
And it reinforces the reality that knowledge only reaches its full value when it is applied to real-world problems.
Wow.
TMA has identified a massive bottleneck in global innovation. The friction of arbitrary borders, confusing visa processes, and a lack of early-stage IT education, and they have systematically removed it.
They have streamlined the path from a raw idea in a high school classroom in Ho Chi Minh City to a patented, funded solution in a Houston R&D lab.
Exactly.
It completely forces you to rethink the underlying purpose of the university system.
It really does.
If you think about the traditional college application, right? The anxiety, the desperate hope to just be chosen by an admissions officer.
Yeah.
And you compare it to the surgical precision of what TMA is building, it leaves you with a massive question about the future.
The entire value proposition of a degree changes.
Exactly. If agencies like TMA can successfully bypass the traditional gatekeepers, teach teenagers patent law, and directly link undergrads with elite fully funded R&D labs, or are we looking at the end of the traditional college experience?
It's a great question.
I mean, in the future, will you even apply to a university just to sit in a lecture hall and absorb theory?
Right. Or will you do something
Or
else?
will you bypass the classroom entirely and apply to plug directly into a global innovation pipeline
Right.
that simply happens to be housed on a university campus? It is a paradigm shift that changes what it means to be a student.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We'll catch you next time.